Welcome to About Our World, where we unravel the fascinating stories of our past. Today we journey back to the birth of one of the world's earliest civilizations, ancient Egypt. Our tale begins thousands of years ago during the pre-dynastic period, a time when ancient communities began to flourish along the fertile banks of the Nile. The river's annual flooding brought life to the barren desert, allowing these early communities to thrive. They learned to harness the river's power, developing agriculture and building settlements that would eventually evolve into the grand cities we associate with ancient Egypt. As these communities grew, so too did their complexity. Trade networks were established, religion began to take form, and social hierarchies were developed. The emergence of distinct cultural practices and traditions during this period laid the foundation for the civilization we recognize as ancient Egypt. Fast forward to the early dynastic period, we see the crowning of Egypt's first pharaoh, King Menes. Around 3100 years before Christ, King Menes accomplished a feat of extraordinary significance: the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. This was a monumental event, marking the birth of one of the world's first nation-states. This unification didn't just merge territories, it melded cultures, traditions and beliefs. It brought together disparate communities under one ruler, creating a powerful and centralized state. King Menes and his successors would go on to construct monumental structures, establish religious institutions, and lay the groundwork for an empire that would last over 3,000 years. The unification of Egypt under King Menes was more than just a political achievement. It was a cultural revolution, setting the stage for an era of extraordinary achievement and cultural richness. This period, known as the Pharaonic era, saw the rise of iconic symbols of ancient Egypt, such as the pyramids, the Sphinx, and the intricate hieroglyphic script. This unification marked the beginning of the Pharaonic era, a time of extraordinary achievement and cultural richness. Our journey is just beginning, so stay tuned as we delve deeper into the captivating world of ancient Egypt. Now we enter the time known as the Old Kingdom, a period of great prosperity and architectural innovation. During this era, Egypt saw grandeur like never before. The Old Kingdom is often referred to as the Age of the Pyramids, and for a good reason. It was during this time that the most iconic Egyptian structures, the pyramids, were constructed. The most famous among them is undoubtedly the Great Pyramid of Giza, standing tall as the last of the seven wonders of the ancient world. This colossal monument was built by Pharaoh Khufu, a ruler whose ambition was as towering as the structure he commissioned. Following in his footsteps, his son, Pharaoh Khafra, built a pyramid just a smidge smaller than his father's, alongside the Great Sphinx, another enduring symbol of ancient Egypt. Pharaoh Menkaure, Khufu's grandson, also added to the family legacy with his own pyramid, albeit smaller, but still a marvel in its own right. These monumental structures were not just grand tombs, but testaments to the incredible architectural prowess and organizational skills of the ancient Egyptians. They were a symbol of the pharaoh's divine status and their power to mobilize resources on a massive scale. Yet, even in the midst of such grandeur, the Old Kingdom was not without its struggles. As the centuries rolled on, the absolute power of the pharaohs began to wane, with regional governors gaining more autonomy. This shift in power dynamics, coupled with severe famine, led to a gradual decline. The once mighty Old Kingdom began to crumble, and the unity that had been its strength started to fracture. With the collapse of the Old Kingdom, Egypt entered a tumultuous period known as the First Intermediate Period. But that's a story for another day. On the next episode of About Our World, we'll journey through the Middle Kingdom and the Second Intermediate Period, exploring the rise and fall of dynasties, the invasions, and the resilience of a civilization that refused to fade into oblivion. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. As we move forward, we come to the Middle Kingdom, a time of literature, art, and military conquest. This period, spanning roughly 200 years from around 21st century to 17th century BC, saw Egypt reflourish under the rule of a new line of pharaohs. Pharaoh Mentuhotep II, a ruler from Thebes, rose to power and reunited a fragmented Egypt after the tumultuous First Intermediate Period. His reign marked the beginning of the Middle Kingdom, a period of political stability and economic prosperity. The reunification under Mentuhotep II was a pivotal moment in Egypt's history as it re-established the country's unity and allowed for a resurgence in the arts, architecture and literature. As the Middle Kingdom progressed, so did the territorial ambitions of the Egyptian pharaohs. One of the most notable of these was Senusret III. Known for his military prowess, Senusret III extended Egypt's borders further into Nubia than any of his predecessors, establishing a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity. However, this golden age was not to last. The end of the Middle Kingdom was marked by the invasion of the Hyksos, a group of Western Asian people who took advantage of the political instability in Egypt to seize control. This marked the onset of the Second Intermediate Period, a time of foreign rule and domestic strife. The Hyksos brought with them new technologies, such as the horse-drawn chariot and the composite bow, which had a profound impact on Egyptian warfare. But this period was also fraught with tension, as the native Egyptians chafed under the rule of these foreign invaders. Despite the Hyksos' rule, the native Egyptians were not idle, and soon they would rise again. The Second Intermediate Period was not a time of passive submission, but a time of resistance, a time when the seeds of rebellion were sown, setting the stage for the native Egyptians to reclaim their land in the New Kingdom. In the New Kingdom, Egypt reached the peak of its power, its fame echoing throughout the ancient world. This was an era marked by grandeur, where legendary pharaohs reigned supreme, leaving indelible marks on the sands of time. The New Kingdom began with the expulsion of the Hyksos, foreign rulers who had seized control of Egypt during the Second Intermediate Period. Ahmose I, the liberator, expelled these foreign invaders, restoring Egyptian rule and ushering in a new era of prosperity and dominance. Among the illustrious pharaohs of this time, Hatshepsut, a rare female pharaoh, stands out. Her reign was marked by peace and prosperity. She expanded Egypt's trade networks and commissioned numerous construction projects, her most notable being the magnificent temple at Deir el-Bahri. Then came Akhenaten, a revolutionary who dared to challenge the traditional religious beliefs of Egypt. In a radical departure, he introduced monotheism, worshipping a single sun god, Aten, and moved the capital to a new city, Akhetaten. However, perhaps the most famous of all was Ramesses II, known as Ramesses the Great. His long reign of 66 years saw numerous military campaigns, monumental constructions, and a period of extraordinary wealth and power for Egypt. His legacy is etched in stone, with the colossal statues at Abu Simbel and his grand tomb in the Valley of the Kings bearing silent testimony to his greatness. Ah, the Valley of the Kings. This was the final resting place of the pharaohs of the New Kingdom. A city of the dead, it was filled with elaborate tombs carved into the cliffs, filled with treasures and decorated with intricate hieroglyphs to guide the pharaohs in their journey to the afterlife. But even this golden age couldn't last forever, and Egypt began to decline. But that's a tale for another scene. For now, let us marvel at the grandeur of the New Kingdom, an era when Egypt truly was the gift of the Nile. In the late period, foreign powers began to dominate Egypt, signaling the end of the pharaonic era. As the sands of time shifted, so did the power dynamics in Egypt. The Assyrians, a formidable power from the east, were the first to make their mark. They swooped down on Egypt like a desert storm, conquering and subjugating the land of the pharaohs with an iron fist. Their rule was harsh, their control absolute. But as with all empires, their time in the sun was fleeting. Not long after, the Persians, another eastern powerhouse, eyed Egypt with ambitious intent. They launched an invasion, overpowering the Assyrians and claiming Egypt for themselves. Under their rule, the pharaohs were reduced to mere figureheads, shadows of their former glory. But the spirit of Egypt was not so easily quelled. The Nubians, hailing from the south, rose to challenge the Persian rule. They wrestled control from the Persians, and for a brief shining moment, Egypt was once again under the rule of native pharaohs. This resurgence, however, was a fleeting flame that was quickly snuffed out. The final nail in the coffin came from the west, from the burgeoning power of Rome. The Romans, with their disciplined legions and strategic prowess, conquered Egypt, marking the end of the pharaohs. The last pharaoh of Egypt, the famed Cleopatra, known for her beauty and political acumen, met a tragic end. Her death marked the end of an era, the end of the pharaohs. With Cleopatra's death, the era of the pharaohs ended, but their legacy continues to captivate us even today. The stories of their reigns, their monuments and their contributions to civilization still echo down the corridors of time, reminding us of a time when pharaohs ruled the land of the Nile. Their legacy is testament to the indomitable spirit of Egypt, a spirit that refuses to be forgotten even as the sands of time continue to shift. Our journey through ancient Egypt comes to a close, but the stories of this remarkable civilization live on. We've traced the unification of Egypt, witnessed the grandeur of the Old and Middle Kingdoms, marveled at the might of the New Kingdom, and observed the end of the pharaonic era. These tales of power, culture and legacy form the bedrock of our shared history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to About Our World. Until next time, keep exploring and discovering.